The topic of discussion today is Duvage's hump, the hump which is developed at the cervicothoracic junction, what we must know and how to treat it. This picture is quite familiar. We do get people with neck pain who also will have concomitant hump in the cervicothoracic junction. If you trace your hand from upper cervical region to the lower cervical region, you will feel a bumpy hump at this junction. This is so common to the young people nowadays, adolescents, middle-aged people, but even old people do get hump, but they get hump over the upper thoracic or the mid-thoracic region for other pathological reasons. So this hump is quite palpable and visually observable, and it's not painful all time, though at times when you touch the area, it will be painful. And as we know, it's more common in women than men. What are the causes of the hump? First one is genetic predisposition. Some people are developmentally would have excessive thoracic kyphosis. Probably that will be running in their families. So such people, because of their excessive kyphosis, they tend to put their neck more forward and they may have a risk of developing the hump at the cervicothoracic junction. So there is no pathology involved in this, just that they are born like that, just that their spine alignment is like that, that increase their likelihood of developing the hump. The second one is osteoporotic compression fractures that happen to the old people. As you could see here, this we call it as snail osteoporotic divergence hump. So this is a classic hump for old people, which is not necessarily because of posture, but because of a pathological fracture. So the spine do get microfractured here. As you could see, the anterior border of the vertebra is shortened, whereas the posterior border is intact. So that creates a kyphotic stress in this region, and hence you see a prominence of the rib hump here. And these people will gradually reduce their height as they get this sort of pathological fracture. So some people do get this fracture as a silent fracture because they don't actually feel pain, but they'll be gradually losing their height and they develop a hump. So this sort of hump will be located more in the upper thoracic and the mid thoracic region, not necessarily in the cervicothoracic junction. The cervicothoracic junction hump is mostly postural in nature that happens in young people. The next reason is ankylosing spondylitis. So this is a condition where there will be a progressive inflammation and stiffening in the spine, starting from the sacroiliac joint to the lumbar spine to the thoracic spine to the cervical spine. So as the thoracic spine is getting rigid, it assumes a kyphotic posture. As you could see in this picture, this patient is a patient diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis and is having a rigid spine and upper thoracic kyphosis, which is creating a hump here. So when the kyphosis is fixed, that will push the cervical spine invariably front. That predisposes the development of hump over the cervicothoracic junction. But once this hump is developed, it's very difficult to break that rigidity and get the movements back to normal. So early identification and early treatment is the key, coupled with medications and exercises. The next reason is Schumann's disease. This is the commonest reason for juvenile kyphosis. It affects children of 10 to 15 years old. As they develop, they will slowly start to assume the kyphotic posture. It's because of the vertebral body breakage in the anterior aspect of the thoracic spine. That would reduce the height of the vertebral body anteriorly. That makes the spine wedge shaped. This is the reason to cause the kyphotic curve in this region. The treatment is usually bracing surgery if needed and coupled with exercises. This is childhood Duvage's hump. Here is my patient, 13-year-old girl, came to me with a complaint of neck pain and pain radiating to the arm. When we observed her, she was having a hump in this region. So this is purely due to posture in nature because she is not having any other underlying pathology. Whereas in this picture, this boy is having Cushing syndrome. It's one of the rare conditions where there will be an excessive glucocorticoid production in the body that makes the individual obese, and there will be an excessive deposition of fat tissue here. And when you happen to see people, especially young children, coming to you with a hump, you must rule out Cushing syndrome. But mostly, most of the humps are postural mechanical in nature. And this is adolescent postural divergence hump. So this is so common in the current scenario. This happens as a result of prolonged forward head posture or downward head posture. Tall, slender, long-necked girls are more prone to develop this. Since they are young, their body will tolerate so easily all this stress, and hardly any of these people will have any pain or dysfunction. So most of the time they are symptomless, but some of them do get neck pain on and off with occasional headaches. These people are having high chances of developing future neck pain when they become adults. In some patients, there will be an additional development of fat pad over the hump. It could be either because of long-term usage of steroids or obesity, or some people will adaptably develop more fat over there just to compensate their anterior shearing force in the cervicothoracic junction. But you won't see this phenomena in all the humps, especially for the people who are obese, who are in the middle age, who are having inflammatory tendency. Those people do develop such kind of fat deposits over the hump. What is the pathomechanics of the hump? In normal instance, the line of gravity passes from the external auditory meatus to the middle of the shoulder. Whereas if you see the posture here, the line of gravity is passing more anteriorly. So there will be a anterior translation of the head with respect to the thoracic spine, which exposes the cervical spine of C7 and T1. You just see my hand. Normally, the cervical spine and the thoracic spine is aligned like that. When the cervical spine is moving more anteriorly with respect to the thoracic spine, then the cervical spinous process of C7 T1 will become more exposed here in relation to the moving upper cervical spine. So that makes the hump more visible and palpable. So if you try to correct the spine alignment, then the hump gradually reduces. So it's not that there is an extra bone growing here, it's just that the cervical spine is moving anteriorly in relationship to the thoracic spine. You see all these pictures, is it a forward head posture or downward head posture? You go and see people in the airport, in the railway station, in the bus, most of them are putting their neck downwards, not forward. Nowadays, with more and more usage of mobile phones, people are actually putting their head so much downward that downward head posture is a new term now. What are the symptoms of postural divergence now? Actually, most of the people will have no symptoms for first few years, especially if they are young. They won't feel anything at all. But what we can see is their head would be moved forward and one can see a visible hump. And if you ask them to look up, there will be a marked reduction in the extension pain. So here are my patients who came to me with neck pain. When I asked them to do the extension, this is all they could do. See, the normal human being should be able to extend their spine like that. But these two people in their mid 30s and mid 50s are not able to use their full extension range. It's because they have been doing too much of downward movement that they have completely forgotten the backward movement. So if you lose your cervical extension, it can lead to so many other problems in the future. These people have high risk of developing headaches and mechanical neck pain in the future. It also predisposes early cervical spondylitis and cervical radicular symptoms like tingling, numbness, swelling in their hands. Cervical myelopathy will not happen overnight. It has to get developed for 2 to 3 decades put together. So people who are not considering their posture now are the one who have to suffer in their future when they become old. How prevalent is this postural mechanical hump? I really don't know because there are no studies done in this particular category. But I request you to see your friends, to see your family members. Check the neck of your patients who have neck pain. Check the neck of the young adolescents, college going students. It's more common than what you think. So the incidence is only going to increase in coming years because I don't think their lifestyle is going to change drastically anytime sooner. Should we try to correct the hump even if the person is asymptomatic? Probably yes, because it's always better to have a spine alignment corrected. And humps can predispose to future neck pain and headaches. And aesthetically also, it is not nice to have females to have a hump, especially if they are young and unmarried. It is not appealing. It is not at all appealing to have them to have a hump. So for all reasons, they have to have their hump corrected, especially if it is postural in nature. Is it fully correctable? It depends. If someone is having the hump for about 40 years to 50 years, then it's very difficult to correct completely. But if someone is having for about 5 years to 10 years, probably there's a chance for the hump to get corrected. It also depends upon the age of the individual. Young people do get corrected easily, but the older people, they will not get full correction. Efficacy of the exercise. Is it a right exercise that you are doing? That also plays a role. If you are maintaining your posture and if you are really, really committed to the exercise, doing the exercise in long-term manner, then probably the chance of correction is very good. Even if it is half corrected, you can obtain huge benefits because once the spine alignment is all right, there are a lot of benefits that you will achieve with correction of the hump. What are the correction strategies? Here is the first one, posture. How correctly you are sitting, how straight you are sitting, how you use your laptop and mobile phones, how many pillows you use, all plays a role. So as much as possible, keep the cervical spine on top of the thoracic spine. Avoid too much of downward posture. You can bend and move, that's not a problem, but the bending should not be a norm. Some of my patients are working like that for about 14 hours a day nowadays, and during the lockdown, spine is the pillar of the body, and pillar is supposed to be right. And the spine can bend here and there, no problem, but it cannot be kept in the bend position for a long period of time. So keep changing the postures, get up, move around, see the phone like that, and avoid downward head postures. Exercises. What are the exercises one can do? There are many exercises to correct the hump. Logically speaking, in the hump, the cervical spine has moved forwards with accompanying upper thoracic kyphosis. So any exercise which you can do to reverse these two phenomena can be very useful in the correction of hump. I have picked up just two exercises just to demonstrate, but you can do many other exercises as well. The first exercise is Mulligan movement mobilization, where you can wrap a towel around your neck, and as you pull the neck up, you can look up and come to neutral. As you pull the neck up, you need to pull the towel anteriorly so that the spine is moved front. So this is an effective exercise in order to reverse the hump. The next exercise is for upper thoracic extension, where you clasp your hands against your back of your neck and move your neck as well as the upper thoracic spine backward. So in this exercise, there is a simultaneous extension happening in the cervical spine and thoracic spine, which is of huge benefit. So you can pick up some exercise in this category and you can do it. But at least you have to do 15 counts of each exercise, 4 to 5 sets in a day. Because if you want to really correct the hump, you have to do the movements more often. Now, these are all the sustained postures which you can use to reverse the hump. You could see this position and this position is exactly opposite to that other hump position. So there is a posterior translation of the cervical spine, there is an extension of the thoracic spine, posterior translation of the cervical spine, extension of the thoracic spine. So this is what we need logically. Okay. So if you sustain this posture for about 2 to 3 minutes twice a day, this also is going to help you. So in summary, these cervicothoracic postural mechanical humps are treatable, should be treated, and it should be done by maintaining the right posture, by doing the corrective exercises more regularly for a long period of time, and by also using these sustained postures. If you do that, there's a good possibility that the hump can be corrected. With that, we'll get future benefits of not becoming a chronic neck pain patient. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed our video. Keep listening. See you soon.